Security halted her at the shooting facility entrance because of her worn jacket and an ancient rifle that appeared to belong in a historical collection. "Premium lanes aren't meant for the disoriented and lost," declared the desk clerk, scanning her as if she were a displaced person. A pampered youth mocked her. "Are they now admitting janitors and housekeeping staff?" Harper remained silent. She simply displayed her VIP card and proceeded past their ridicule, past their scorn, until 10 flawless shots silenced every last one of them. The Hawthorne Elite range stood like a shrine to accuracy, its glass and steel exterior shining beneath the California sunshine like a buffed ammunition round. Within, the atmosphere was thick with cordite and entitlement. Each shooting position displayed the wealth of the ultra-rich, high-ranking officers and sporting champions. Obsidian floors mirrored LED illumination, while electronic scoreboards displayed names of influence. Offspring of politicians, Olympic competitors, technology moguls. Access here wasn't merely purchased. It required pedigree, costing more than typical home payments. Golden-framed photographs of global champions decorated the walls, their gazes as frigid as their precision. Beyond the entrance, a velvet barrier divided the privileged from the undeserving. Today, Harper Lane found herself on the excluded side, her weathered military jacket and worn denim an affront to the custom tactical clothing flowing past her. At 23, Harper possessed a quiet intensity, her attractiveness natural and unrefined. Her reddish-brown hair was woven into a casual plait, strands catching light like sparks in the sun. Her greenish-brown eyes, keen and steady, contained a profundity that could halt breath. She bore an aged M1 Garand rifle, its wooden stock polished smooth by years of use, carried across her shoulder like a re-alaig. Her father, Colonel Thomas Lane, had been a renowned marksman, a phantom who concluded battles with single rounds. He had trained her on wilderness ranges, instructing her to synchronize breathing with trigger pulls. Following his passing, Harper had vowed to preserve his memory. However, the assembled crowd perceived only an outsider with second-hand appearance, her presence an offense to their exclusiveness. The receptionist, Derek, with his polished haircut and cutting sneer, obstructed Harper's approach to the entrance. "This facility isn't designed for common individuals," he stated, his voice laden with scorn, spoken loudly enough to attract attention. "VIP areas are reserved for members, not whatever category you represent." He indicated her weapon, his eyes examining her faded outerwear. A youth in $4,000 athletic wear, Connor Blake, heir to a hedge fund dynasty, reclined against a column, smirking. "Are they now permitting maintenance and cleaning crews?" he shouted, generating chuckles from his group. Harper's fingers touched her VIP card, a weathered pass from her father's former commanding officer, earned through sacrifice and dedication. She presented it, her voice calm. "I'm an invited guest." Derek's smugness wavered as the scanner confirmed access, but he stepped away, grumbling, "This is an error." The crowd separated, their mockery forming a hostile corridor as Harper entered. As Harper moved through the lounge area, the range's live broadcast transformed into a digital execution platform. Mobile devices glowed as members posted instantaneously, their messages becoming public condemnation. "Charity case shooter," one caption read, focusing on her scuffed footwear. "She's pathetic," another member shared, posted by a politician's child. Vanessa Cole rose, her voice carrying enough to reach the live stream. "Look at her believing she can compete with us," she taunted, gesturing toward Harper's jacket. "This is Hawthorne, not a junkyard." The audience erupted, their ridicule weaponized, comments streaming. "Remove her! Imposter!" A young man yelled, "I bet she retrieved that pass from garbage." Harper's hands remained steady, her hazel gaze fixed ahead, though her mother's face on the live stream, ashen and distressed, revealed the impact of each cruel word. The viewers' indignation surged, their fury at this orchestrated brutality ready to explode. The range's interior resembled a competitive sanctuary, its lanes extending 50 meters beneath a towering ceiling. Electronic displays monitored each round fired while quiet ventilation mixed with gunshot reports. Members relaxed in leather seating, consuming $20 coffee drinks, their weapons gleaming with personalized engravings. Harper's jacket attracted stares like a flaw in polished glass. A trust fund beneficiary, Tyler Reed, lounged in his chair with his $12,000 rifle nearby. "Even janitorial staff receives entry now?" he scoffed, his comment echoing across the lounge. His associates, a group of private school inheritors, laughed, their eyes dissecting Harper's denim. "What will she accomplish? Shine the targets?" one joked, flicking spent brass at her feet. Harper stepped around it, her expression peaceful, her silence forming a barrier against their hostility. A shooting instructor, Professor Laura Vance, emerged from the coaching staff, her tailored blazer contrasting sharply with Harper's worn jacket. "This situation is highly unusual," she declared, her tone dripping with manufactured sympathy, loud enough for the lounge to witness. "Hawthorne serves trained experts, not charity recipients with antique equipment." She pointed at Harper's rifle, her diamond jewelry sparkling. "Your attendance here compromises our reputation. Perhaps a public range would be more appropriate." The crowd murmured consent, some applauding, their snobbery creating a barrier around Harper. "Depart now, and we'll overlook this humiliation," Vance continued, her words deliberately cutting. Harper's braid moved as she adjusted her weapon, her hazel eyes flickering with contained determination, yet her face stayed serene. Her mother's clenched hands on the live stream and the instructor's condescension betrayed Harper's right to be present. The audience's anger intensified, their outrage at this authority-driven assault burning like a wound. In the VIP lane, Vanessa Cole, a markswoman with $6,000 custom optics and a modeling agreement, adjusted her scope, her blonde hair flowing in flawless waves. She glanced toward Harper, her expression curling with disdain. "This is a training facility, not some budget military film costume play," she stated, her voice sharp enough to slice, amplified by the overhead live-stream microphone. The range's social media buzzed with activity, comments pouring in. "Who is this failure? Eject her." The head instructor, Colonel Raymond Pierce, a weathered former Marine decorated with medals, stood close by, his irritation evident. "Are you certain you understand which end of the weapon you should grip?" he bellowed, his tones saturated with contempt. Harper met his stare, her hazel eyes unwavering. "I'll manage," she responded quietly, her words a gentle promise. The crowd chuckled, their phones ready, anticipating her downfall. The billionaire's son, Ethan Caldwell, was the range's star performer. 25 years old with dark waves, a sculpted face and eyes that could either enchant or intimidate. His black tactical clothing was perfectly fitted, and his custom weapon, a $60,000 masterpiece, shone like a predator. He had just scored 9.9, 9.8, 9.7, his results displaying on the digital scoreboard to enthusiastic approval. He turned, noticing Harper, and his smile became a weapon. "If you defeat me, I'll exit immediately," he announced, his voice smooth and mocking, loud enough for the live stream. "But when I win, you're finished, custodian." The crowd exploded, their laughter like a tsunami. Ethan leaned nearer, his breath warm. "No pressure, sweetheart." Harper didn't retreat. She nodded once, her silence more powerful than their jeers. The live stream audience seethed, their hearts with Harper, urging her to shatter their arrogance. The ridicule continued as Harper prepared at lane 8. Connor Blake approached casually, his tracksuit displaying wealth. "That weapon's ancient," he sneered, his voice reaching the live stream. I bet it breaks before you shoot. He flicked a coffee stirrer at her feet, grinning. Retrieve it, maintenance worker. The crowd laughed, their phones recording, captions forming. Range garbage. Vanessa adjusted her optics, her voice cutting. You're humiliating yourself, dear. Go home before you injure yourself. Coach Pierce stepped closer, his clipboard raised like a gavel. This is a premium facility, he stated patronizingly. We lack time for novices with relics. Harper's hands moved with quiet precision, loading her rifle, her face a mask of composure. Her mother's face, watching the live stream from a hospital bed, crumpled as each insult wounded her daughter's dignity. The range's social media became a battleground, posts accumulating. Scrapyard shooter, one read, showing Harper's faded jeans closely. She's fraudulent, another commented, shared by a politician's daughter in the lounge. Tyler Reed stood, his voice booming. Why is she present? This is our range, not a charity shooting event. The crowd cheered, their elitism forming a fortress around Harper. A girl in designer clothing, Mia Hole, threw a crumpled score sheet at Harper's feet, calling, Gee, clean that up, janitor. The paper slid across the floor, grazing her boots. But Harper didn't pause. Her braids swayed as she inspected her rifle, her hazel eyes locked on the target 50 meters away. The audience's rage burned, their fury at the mob's cruelty ready to detonate. The insults intensified as Harper positioned herself at the lane. A retired general, now a range consultant, leaned toward Coach Pierce, his voice loud enough for the live stream. This is what occurs when you permit scholarships, he muttered, gesturing at Harper. No technique, no ability. The crowd murmured agreement, their phones flashing, capturing Harper's stillness. Vanessa stood, her optics gleaming, and called out, You're a walking embarrassment, girl. Leave before you make us all appear foolish. Connor Blake added, I bet she's never even fired a weapon. Probably stole that pass. The laughter grew, a vicious chorus, each word a stone thrown at Harper's dignity. Her fingers brushed her rifle, a slight tremor the only sign of tension, but her face remained serene, her silence a wall against their scorn. Ethan took his turn first, his movements fluid, his rifle an extension of his intent. The digital board displayed 10, 9.9, 10, 10. Nearly flawless, his grouping tight as a closed fist. The crowd roared with approval, their smirks directed at Harper. Good luck, thrift store, Ethan called, his grin confident, his eyes daring her to collapse. The live stream comments surged. She's finished. No way she surpasses that. Harper stepped to the line, her M1 Garand steady in her grasp. The crowd quieted, their phones raised, ready for her humiliation. She exhaled, her body motionless, her concentration laser-sharp. 50 meters out, a tiny red dot centered among hundreds of rings. The audience held their breath, their anger at her treatment pulsing in their veins. First shot, 10. The board chimed, a soft ping that cut through the silence. Murmurs rippled. Lucky shot, Tyler scoffed, crossing his arms. Harper didn't react. Second shot, 10. The ping returned, sharper now. Vanessa's optics slipped, her smirk disappearing. Third shot, 10. The range's congratulatory melody played, a rare chime for 3 consecutive perfect shots. The crowd froze, their laughter dying. Beginner's luck, Connor muttered, but his voice cracked. Harper's face remained calm, her hazel eyes locked on the target. The live stream audience leaned closer, their hearts pounding, sensing a storm brewing. Fourth shot, 10. The melody played again, louder, more insistent. Coach Pierce's clipboard trembled in his hands. Fifth shot, 10. A headset clattered to the floor, dropped by a stunned athlete. Sixth shot, 10. The range became a graveyard, every eye on Harper, her faded jacket a beacon under the lights. Ethan's grin vanished, his jaw tight, his eyes narrowing. The live stream exploded. "Who is this girl? This is incredible!" Harper's braid swayed as she adjusted her grip, her movements precise, almost sacred. The audience's anger transformed to awe, their faith in her growing with each shot. 7th shot, 10. The melody was now a hymn, echoing off the steel walls. Tyler's face paled, his bravado crumbling. 8th shot, 10. Vanessa removed her optics, her hands shaking. 9th shot, 10. The crowd was silent, their phones lowered, their mockery a distant memory. 10th shot, perfect center, overlapping the first bullet, not a millimeter off. The board flashed a new record, 100. The melody played one final time, triumphant, as the system announced, "Facility record broken." Harper lowered her rifle, her breathing steady, her hazel eyes sweeping the room. The audience roared, their hearts soaring, her triumph a blaze that burned away their scorn. She turned, calm and steady, and spoke, her voice soft but piercing. "My father taught me to shoot when I was 6, she said, her words cutting through the silence like a blade. "He was the top sniper in his unit, while you were still learning to double-click a mouse." The crowd parted, their heads bowed, their earlier cruelty a weight they couldn't shake. Coach Pierce, the ex-Marine, rose from his chair, his eyes shining with respect. He began to clap, slow and deliberate, the sound echoing in the stillness. One by one, others joined, the applause swelling like a tide of reckoning. Ethan stood frozen, his mouth twitching, his heart stumbling as he saw her smile. Just a flicker, but enough to unravel him. Ethan Caldwell remained rooted, his once cocky grin replaced by a flush of shame as Harper's perfect 100 glowed on the board. Her smile, faint but radiant, caught him like a spark, his heart tripping over itself. "I was an idiot," he said, his voice cracking loud enough for the live stream to catch. "You're not just better, you're untouchable." The crowd's silence was heavy, their earlier jeers now a collective wound. Ethan's eyes, once sharp with arrogance, softened, tracing Harper's calm poise, her faded jacket now a badge of honor. The live stream comments shifted. "He's done. She's a queen." Coach Pierce nodded, his voice booming. "Mr. Caldwell, your scores are no longer the standard. Step aside." Ethan's shoulders slumped, but his gaze lingered on Harper, her smile a quiet fire that lit something new in him. The audience cheered, their hearts soaring as Ethan's fall and Harper's rise intertwined, her triumph a blade that cut through his pride. Ethan's face burned, his 10s and 9.9s now a public humiliation. He'd mocked her, challenged her, and lost in front of everyone. The live stream captured his pale shock, comments flooding. "She destroyed him. Harper legend." He stepped forward, his voice low, almost reverent. "I was wrong," he said, his eyes searching hers. "You're incredible." Harper nodded, her smile faint but warm, a spark that caught him off guard. The crowd watched, their silence a canvas for her victory. Coach Pierce approached, his voice gruff but proud. "That was the finest shooting I've seen in 40 years, he said. "Your father's legacy lives in you." Harper's eyes softened, her promise kept, her mission complete. The range's director, General Marcus Tate, stepped forward, his silver hair catching the LED lights, his voice resonant across the lanes. "Harper Lane has redefined excellence," he declared, his words broadcast to the live stream. "Her record of 100 is now the benchmark for Hawthorne." He turned to the staff, his gaze stern. Those who mocked her, Derek, Professor Vance, face suspension pending review. Standards here are about skill, not status. The crowd gasped, the guilty shrinking, their arrogance crumbling. Tate raised a hand, unveiling a digital plaque on the screen. Harper Lane, record holder. Harper stood tall, her smile a quiet glow, catching Ethan's eye again, his heart racing at her grace. The live stream audience roared, their applause echoing online. Hashtag Harper Lane trending as a symbol of truth. The audience's hearts swelled. Harper's victory, a permanent mark on the range's legacy. The range's hierarchy crumbled in that moment. Connor Blake slunk to the lounge, his tracksuit no shield against the whispers. She owned him. Vanessa packed her gear, her modeling contract suddenly fragile, her arrogance a memory. Tyler's boasts died in his throat, his rifle untouched, his click avoiding his gaze. The live stream trended globally, hashtag Harper Lane flooding social media, her 10 shots a myth in the making. The general who'd mocked her breeding stood, his face red, and muttered an apology, his words lost in the applause. Mia Hull, the score sheet too. Sear slipped out, her designer jacket no armor against the shame. The range's elite were humbled, their exclusivity shattered by a girl with a faded rifle. Ethan lingered, his cockiness replaced by curiosity, then awe. He approached Harper later as the crowd thinned, his voice soft. Can we talk? I owe you everything. Harper's smile grew, her hazel eyes meeting his, and she nodded, a new chapter dawning. As the applause faded, Ethan approached Harper, his usual swagger gone, replaced by quiet intensity. I don't deserve your time, he said, his voice low, his eyes locked on her smile, that faint, radiant curve that had undone him. But I'd be a fool not to try. You're not just a shooter. You're a force. The crowd watched, their silence a canvas for his vulnerability, the live stream capturing every word. He's in love. Harper's hazel eyes met his, her smile deepening, a spark that lit his world. Coffee's a start, she said, her voice soft but warm, a bridge between them. The range's staff paused, their respect for Harper now a given, her record a new North Star. Ethan's heart raced, her smile, the moment he'd fallen, the beginning of something unstoppable. The audience's hearts soared, their satisfaction complete as Harper's triumph sparked love, her victory a legend sealed in 10 perfect shots. The range's staff updated the leaderboard, Harper's name now etched at the top, a permanent rebuke to their scorn. The crowd, once a wall of scorn, now stood in awe, their phones lowered, their earlier cruelty a bitter memory. A young athlete, previously silent, stepped forward, her voice trembling. I was wrong to laugh, she said, her eyes on Harper. You're what this range should be. Others nodded, their applause swelling, a tide of respect that drowned their past insults. Harper's smile, soft but piercing, caught Ethan's gaze again, his heart lurching as he saw her strength in its quiet glow. The live stream captured the shift, comments flooding. She changed everything. Harper inspires. Even the general who'd mocked her breeding clapped, his face red with shame, his earlier words now dust. Harper stood serene, her faded jacket a symbol of victory, her triumph reshaping the range's soul. The audience's hearts thundered, their anger transformed into pride, Harper's skill a beacon for all who'd been overlooked. The livestream audience chanted her name, their anger transformed into triumph, her victory a beacon for the overlooked. 1 month later, Harper and Ethan were dating, their bond forged in the crucible of that day. Ethan, once a prince of privilege, learned to see the world through Harper's eyes, strength earned, not bought. 3 months later, he proposed, the ring simple but perfect, like her. They married in a quiet ceremony, the range's plaque now reading, Harper Lane, record holder, 100. Hawthorne Elite Range was no longer just for the elite. It was hers, reshaped by a girl in faded jeans who'd silenced them all with 10 perfect shots. Harper Lane didn't need their praise. She was the bullet that hit the mark. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this.